Systems from the University of Cape Town, South Africa. He is the former registrar in charge of partnership, research, and innovation at the Technical University of Mombasa. Professor Saulo is a career researcher and associate professor who has supervised several graduate students, both in master's and PhD levels, with over 80 publications in peer-reviewed journals and more than 1,000 citations. Professor Saulo has made significant scholarly contributions in the field of renewable energy. He coordinates the Renewable Energy and Climate Research Center, which runs several national and international projects focused on renewable energy and climate action. His research focuses on renewable energy systems, design, modeling, and analysis, with strong emphasis on green energy transition, clean energy access, and efficiency in rural electrification. Professor Saulo will be a keynote speaker today, and his topic will focus on green energy transition, which explores the global shifts from fossil fuel-based energy system to renewable and carbon-neutral sources, such as solar, wind, and geothermal energy, in pursuit of net zero emission by 2050 and limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So I would like us to give a warm welcome to our professor. Please, Professor Saulo, please take the stage. And we are looking forward to listening to your very interesting topic on green energy. Thank you very much. Please give him a warm hands of.
Thank you, Mariam. Good morning. Good morning. So as Mariam has said, my name's Professor Saulo. I'll be presenting to you this morning for around 40 minutes or so. I'll be looking at navigating the path for universal access to green energy. You see, we are talking about green energy transition. But even as we talk about green energy transition, you see, people are transiting to renewable energy, and we are not thinking that the people that used to work in the fuel industry or in the conventional energy, where do they go if everybody shifts to green energy or shift to renewable energies? Then what happens to the people that were working in the conventional energy sector? So this is some of the things that we are going to discuss in this talk, and I urge you for the next 40 minutes or so to be attentive to what I'm going to present. So when we talk of green energy, what is green energy? You see, this is energy that can be extracted, generated, or consumed without any significant negative impact to the environment. This is what we call green energy. Of course, green energy is a subset. It's a subset of renewable energy, because sometimes when you talk about green energy, people might think that you are talking about renewable energy, but this is just a part of renewable energy. And you see, the planet has a natural capability to recover. So any energy that can be able to go beyond that capability can still be termed as green. And so, as I've said, green energy or green power is a subset of renewable energy. According to the US Environmental Protection Agency, it defines green energy or green power as electricity produced from solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, biogas, any low impact and low small hydroelectric sources. So normally customers would buy green power for avoidance of environmental impacts. So when we look at the global energy outlook, the development of human society has been marked all throughout history by the role of energy resources. Because energy resources is what determines how a country or a personal human being has developed. And so the importance of energy in the global scenario has constantly risen, and the interconnection with the environment and society cannot be overemphasized. Because as much as we are here on earth, then we'll have to integrate with this energy and also with the environment. So the first question that we have to ask ourselves is energy somehow linked to development? Is energy linked to development? And that's what we are going to prove. Because the correlation between energy and development is very clear. Because access to modern energy is today considered essential resource development and to fight poverty. Because we don't only have poverty as lack of resources, we also have poverty as lack of energy resources. And so when we talk of sustainable energy as a basic constitution, or it constitutes to enable access to services, resources, and also public good. And so any time that somebody has good access to clean energy, then we can say that that person has developed, or that person is in the trajectory of development as much as he can. So the access to clean energy is very, very important. And if you look at various graphs that I'm going to show you, the first one, it shows the interdependency between energy and development. And you can see from here that if you look at the total primary energy supply versus the electric energy consumption, it shows that the more energy that you consume, even in your domestic house, it's a sign that you, according to the Human Development Index, that you are at a very high level, depending on the consumption of electricity or any source of energy that you have. If you look at these other two graphs, look at energy vis-a-vis sustainable development. The Human Development Index is proportional to the development of, is proportional to the Energy Development Index, meaning that as much as you use energy, the much as you use energy, then it shows that the development index in your home, in your country, in your county is also high. And that also goes to enrollment in primary school, in secondary school, because the more access that you have to energy, the better for you to assume that you are developed. If you look at energy, the malnutrition versus the modern energy, you find that even in health, energy still plays a very big role, because your health is dependent on the amount of energy that you utilize. Because you find that in areas where the energy usage or the energy access is very low, you find that even the malnutrition rate is also very low. And so you find that energy, actually, we are saying that energy is directly proportional to development. So energy is linked to development. So sustainable energy should be a right for all, just the same way as water or any other thing is a right for all. So energy is also a right. And so it's unfortunately that in Africa, we still have countries that the access to clean energy is very, very low flung. And so when we talk about a right to energy, which right? Of course, we are saying that energy determines the human dignity. I think I didn't put it properly there, but energy determines the human dignity. The more energy you have, the more access to energy you have, the more dignity you have. So energy is a right, and energy will determine how you'll be looked at into the society. So to whom is the duty? So the targets are, we are to ensure universal access to modern energy services by 2030. And so there's the aspect of energy efficiency and energy access. And so the share of renewable energy, if you look at the least cost development plan, that is 2024, 2043, it says that the renewable energy access must double within the next 20 years. And so we are looking at this as something that need to be looked into in our country very, very seriously. If you look at the statistics, access to energy, if you look at globally, there are still 1.3 billion people that lack access to electricity, while 2.6 billion rely on traditional biomass. If you look at Africa, for example, Africa, we are talking of around 590 million who have no access to electricity. Asia, 628 million. Latin America, we are talking of 29 million. And even Europe still has that problem. There's around 50 million affected by fuel poverty. So this is a global problem that need to be addressed. And if the country, any country that will have to develop energy access and efficiency becomes a very key indicator if we are going to talk of development. So access to energy has two dimensions. We first look at access to electric energy and also access to modern fuels. If you look at access to electricity, we are talking, that is in sub-Saharan Africa, we are talking of 1.3 billion with no access to electricity. This is around 18% population in Asia does not have 50 million compared from 2011. So 76% of mean electrification rate is in DCs, or 92% is in urban, and 64% in rural. So if you look at that kind of access, it means that there's still a lot of work that need to be done for us to be able to increase or enhance these sustainable capitals. And so if you look at the current energy generation mix, you find that biomass remains the primary energy source for cooking, heating in sub-Saharan Africa. Around 960 million people still use biomass as their mode of cooking. And so electricity generation through fossil coal, gas, account for nearly 80%. So that means renewable energy takes a very, very short percentage, a very, very small percentage of the electricity that we use in sub-Saharan Africa. So renewable energy represents 29% of the power mix combined in all the sub-Saharan African countries. Hydropower, 24%, with solar and wind only at 5%. So you see, there's still a lot of work that need to be done with regard to access to renewable energy or access to green energy. If you look at the key drivers of transition, you find that the falling cost of solar PV has fallen from 82% between 2010 and 2019. So making it cheaper option for new capacity in most regions. If you look at the cost of solar panels some 10 years back and look at them now, there has been a drastic fall of that. And so we need to take advantage of this. There is transitioning to renewable reduces reliance on traditional biomass, which drives desertification. And so we need to be climate resilient. We need to check on what we are doing. And there's a lot of economic opportunity when we shift to green energy. So we need to really work and see how do we shift into green energy and boost our annual GDP growth, which is by now 0.8 over the next decade. So if you look at the regional leaders and success stories in this area, like in Kenya, we have a geothermal powerhouse with nearly 1 gigawatt potential, providing 40% of the electricity. We have a lot of biomass, not biomass, but geothermal, that we can be able to use. I know we have also a nuclear power committee, but then why don't we first exhaust the geothermal potential, which is already a potential that is there? It doesn't need so much technology the way nuclear would require. With geothermal, it's clean energy, it's green energy. And so we can be able to harvest that and be able to power our industries and whatever that we need. If you look at Ethiopia, Ethiopia is leading in hydropower. With the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance, the dam is giving 4.1 megawatts. And it's interconnected to double national generation. Because even in Kenya right now, we still get power from Ethiopia. There's a DC line that comes directly from Ethiopia to Ngong. And if you look at South Africa, it's implementing the Just Energy Transition Partnership, and it's moving away from the coal. Because initially South Africa was so much dependent on coal. And so they are making that transition, and it's going to help in the green energy transition. Nigeria is rapidly expanding the off-grid power initiative to reach rural population. And because Nigeria also had a lot of problem with the conventional electricity. And if you go to Lagos, for example, you'd get every household had a small generator somewhere. So Lagos became like a very noisy city because every small household, there was a small generator. And so with this, despite the fact that they were good, they had very good oil reserves, but this was also affecting the climate action. So as I come to the end, if you look at the major projects under development between 2025 and 2030, there's Algeria, which is looking at the Taufuk. Is it the Taufuk? The Taufuk 1 mega solar project, that is a $3.6 billion for 46 gigawatts. We have the wind in Egypt, a 1.1 gigawatt, that is the Suez Wind project. And then there's the South Africa Corosso, which is another cluster. We have green hydrogen in Namibia, Morocco, Mauritania, as positioning as global exporters. In Kenya also, we are coming up with the issues of green hydrogen. Then we have hydropower, which is 15,600 megawatts, currently under construction across Ethiopia, Egypt, Angola, Nigeria, and Tanzania. So the green energy transition is ongoing, but at a slow pace. It has not reached the pace that we would want it to move. There are critical barriers to progress, and some of the barriers that we are expecting, that we are seeing, is high cost of capital, interest rates in sub-Saharan Africa are significantly higher than in developed nations due to perceived political and economic risks. There is also infrastructure gaps. They have weak grids, which suffer 15% line losses, and of course, double the global average. So transmission remains a massive bottleneck. And as I was saying, because our grid is very weak, that's why we have a lot of blackouts every time, because it's not embedded in the distribution generation. Then we have the regulatory uncertainty, where inconsistent policies and slow legislative reforms in major markets like Nigeria and Cameroon. So these are some of the barriers that are making us not move the green transition to the level that we want. There's also the financing transition, the investment surge, the private clean energy investment in Africa, which rose from US dollar 17 billion 2019 to now 240 billion in 2024. There's also the instrument increase of use green bonds. And the green bonds are just like the carbon credits. So these are things that would help us to increase the transition to green energy. There's also the gap. The Africa still attracts only 3% of global energy investment. So annual needs must jump to around 200 billions. And this is because of bad politics. And because of bad politics, even the power pools that we used to have, like we used to have the South African power pool, we used to have the ECOWAS power pool, the East African power pool, and even the North African power pool. These power pools are no longer in operation, apart from the South African power pool, because of bad politics and some of the economic policies that we put in place. And so we need to decentralize. We need a decentralized solution by coming up with mini grids and solar home systems. This will leapfrog us to some economic impact. So if we take into that digression of mini grid and microgrids and come out of the main grid that has been there for many years and is very unreliable, because if you look at the current grid, some of the infrastructure was built during colonial time or during independence. And some of them have actually expired, but they are still there with their lots of inefficiency being used to produce power or to transmit power. And as I finish, we look at the outlook. What is the outlook by 2030? The Nairobi Declaration calls for increasing renewable energy capacity from 56 gigawatts in 2022 to 300 gigawatts by 2030. These are things that are already captured in the least cost power development plans. But you see, capturing and implementing are two different things. There's also the regional integration. That is the completion of interconnectors, e.g. the Kenya-Tanzania, Senegal-Gambia, is creating a unified Africa single electricity market. So if these 5 grids are interconnected, then it would be able to help us to be able to have a very strong grid that will give us reliable power. So the final thought here is we need a just transition. A just transition must balance climate goals with immediate energy access and economic development. So as we transit from the fossil fuel era, as we transit from the conventional era to the green energy, we need a just transition. And as we talk today, if you look at now the fuel cost, today is 40 shillings more.
We learned a lot about the green energy and why it's important, especially for African countries. Anyone with a question?
Yeah, thank you, Prof, for the very good presentation on green energy. Indeed, it's a very hot topic now. And for Africa, it's really crucial that we have to see how to implement it and expand it better. But in your earlier slides, you mentioned that green energy is just a subset. You said green energy is just a subset of renewable energy. A subset means there is some aspects of renewable energy that are not green. So which are those aspects of renewable energy that are not green?
Yes, that's a very good question, Dr. If you look at what I said here, just let me go back to that slide. Green power, I said, is a subset of renewable energy and represent those renewable energy resources and technology that provides the highest environmental benefit. Meaning that the difference between this green energy and renewable energy is that green energy provides the highest benefit, the highest environmental benefit, because you can have so many other ranges of solar. It could be solar, yes, it's a green energy or it's a renewable energy, but maybe it cannot be classified as green energy because it doesn't give the highest benefit of environmental access. So that's why we are saying that as much as we are talking about renewable energy, and we have many clusters of renewable energy, but there are those who fall in the realm of green energy. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yeah, that's clear.
Yeah.
My second question is
Yes.
the fossils.
The fossils.
Yes.
Yes.
There are schools of thought
Yeah.
that also would categorize the fossils
Fossil
fuel
fuel. Yes.
as green.
Yes.
In this sense, probably just starting from the biomass.
Yeah.
These are systems that are supported by solar,
Yes.
photosynthesis processes,
Yes.
and then they decay. Even without the decay, we get the biomass.
Yes.
But the decay process is what finally would give the fossil fuels,
Yes.
which have taken many, many millions of years
Yes.
to decompose.
True.
Yeah. So if you look at their origin traced back from the solar,
Yeah.
then using them could just be another form of energy recovery from the solar. I don't know how
Yes.
you think about that.
That's why we have classification of energy. So we have what we call sustainable energy. We have what we call green energy. We have what we call renewable energy. And all of them are classified depending on what you are saying, depending on, it could be on the border between renewable energy and conventional, but all depends on, is it something that can be recovered after usage? Is it something that we can renew it after you have used it, it can be replaced again? So each of them depends with whatever classification that you look at it from. It could be sustainable, it could be green, it could be renewable. Yes.
Maybe the last question that I have
Yes.
is that we know the advantages
Yes.
of going green,
Yeah.
but the pace at which we are transforming
Yeah.
is very slow, in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, we can take our university as an example.
Yeah.
We can easily run 100% on renewable sources. But we are not yet there, not even a small fraction.
Yes.
Because of the economic. So how do we break these barriers so that we can run with speed? Thank you.
You see, mostly in Africa, all these renewable energy sources or the green energy sources require very high capital infrastructure. And that's what people fear. People do not want to look at the long-term benefit. They look at the capital infrastructure that is used for you to start off something. And because of that, it has been an impediment to many organizations. Just the other day, I was in Kemfree, just here in Mombasa, due % use of renewable energy. And this is because they could surpass that barrier of the capital infrastructure. And apart from that, because people sometimes hide behind the economic reason, but the other reasons that I would say is political. Because if you look at the politics in energy, there's also the politics of the West versus the East. So that also affects how you can be able to invest heavily on the issues of renewable energy. There's a lot of politics also that is involved in it. Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. In your presentation, you somehow alluded that access to energy is a right.
It's a right, yes.
And also said that energy is directly proportional to development.
You're saying?
Energy is directly proportional to development.
Yes, yes.
Which means that if we had free energy,
yes,
we could even develop faster.
Yes.
But as you can see, the way energy is supplied by governments,
yeah,
you get the energy, but the component of tax you find in that the energy supply is more than a half of.
Let me calm down so that nikusikie vizuri. I'm not getting feedback from here. Yes. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so the costs, the taxation you get
Yes.
imposed by governments is so high, or I can say deterrent
Yeah.
to use of the electricity, for example, we have.
Yes.
Is it that the governments are not aware that free energy will facilitate more development? Why is it that we are not, they are not providing affordable energy?
The government is very much aware. That's why we have what we call a least cost power development plan. If you Google it, you'll find the 2024-2043. There's a clear roadmap on how we should be able to scale up our energy access, both renewable and conventional. The government is quite aware. But you see, government could have good plans. But now the challenge becomes the implementation. The implementation is where the issue is. Look at a country like China. China, most of the companies that are manufacturing, most of, be it mobile phones, name it, they're all in China. Why? They're in China because the cost of electricity in China is very, very low. Because they have invested very much in their energy infrastructure. And this is something that our government also need to do that. Because once the cost of electricity goes down, then it also attracts investors. Because if I'm an investor and I want to invest in this country, one of the main thing that I look at, how is the cost of electricity? How is the cost of labor? Because I want at the end of the day, if I'm investing and I have to produce some goods, I still end up getting my profit, isn't it? Okay. But if the cost of electricity will deter me from getting the right kind of markup or profit, then I don't need to invest. And so the government is very much aware. They are trying. I can't say they are not trying. But I think priorities are also there. Like right now, I think the priority of education, the 6 whatever, the CBET education and other priorities, maybe have made the government not to really focus on electricity. That's my own personal opinion. Yes.
Yeah, so I enlisted the government as one of the obstacles. The high taxation rates, can I rightly say, is one of the obstacles?
You see, that's a very political question.
Yeah.
and I can't answer and say that the government is one of the obstacles.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Nataka nifungwe. Yeah.
Any other question?
Okay.
Okay, you can give Prof a round of applause.
So thank you very much. God bless you. Yes, thank you.
There's a question here.
Oh, there's a question. Okay.
Yes. So my question is, I like the way you discuss renewable energy, and specifically one of my favorite was, of course, geothermal power. Yeah. And currently, of course, we are at about 40% geothermal power.
Yes.
My question is, for Kenya, in your recommendations, I've not introduced myself. Okay, let me just introduce myself, then I continue my question. So my name is Elijah Bakari. I am a programs director at Emerging Climate Frontiers.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so to my question, you've mentioned, of course, that with geothermal power, Kenya is right now, well, Kenya, of course, being renewable energy and the Kenyan grid is more than 90%.
Yeah.
But of course, with the geothermal power, we are at about 40%.
Yes.
My question is, in your opinion, because Kenya, of course, has all this great potential, what do you think are some of the things maybe we can do, whether from a technical perspective and maybe even from a government and policy perspective, that could expand or could encourage that in future the energy we use will actually be geothermal, so that we do not engage in other energy that could be polluting or controversial, because there's energy we could propose, but then communities would have a problem with. So what would be your way forward in terms of what we can do as a country to just encourage more geothermal development, both technically and also if you also have a comment on the political governance policy side?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. You see, Kenya is a geothermal powerhouse. The geothermal potential in Kenya is over 3 gigawatts. And this is a potential that has not yet been harnessed. But you see now, according to my own opinion, the government priority could be not really focused on the geothermal, because right now you find that they are looking at the nuclear power. A nuclear power which they want to put in Siaya. I was reading a certain paper that they want to put a nuclear plant in Siaya. Nuclear plant, number one, is good, but it requires a very high infrastructural outlay, which is very expensive. It requires very highly skilled manpower. Then the issue of uranium, to be able to dispose it is also a big issue. And so if the money that is being used to focus on nuclear would be shifted to geothermal, because this is green energy, number one. Number two, geothermal has, wells are so many, not only in the Rift Valley, even if you go to the northern eastern, we still also have geothermal wells. And this is something that if the government can harness and be able to use, then we have a lot of geothermal. We would have a lot of energy potential. And so I would say that my own personal opinion would be that the focus right now, if we are talking of renewable energy, we should focus more on geothermal. Because if you look at statistics, Kenya is the third in all the African countries with regard to geothermal power. We are rated third or second there with regard to potential in geothermal power. I don't know whether that answers your question. So I think there should be some policies that are put in place to look at priorities. Maybe the people that are advising are not really doing their homework very well, but they need to check what is the low-hanging fruit. We go for the low-hanging fruit first before we can think of other fruits. That would be my opinion. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I'm done for now.
Thank you, Professor. Please pigeni makofi jamani. Thank you so much for your time and for the interactive session, because it was not only you speaking and then people are just waiting for you to finish. People were listening to what you're saying, and as you can see, it was quite interactive, and we really appreciate you taking your time. And we also have a small gift here from the university as a token of our appreciation for doing this. So our next session will also focus on climate change. And this session is a partnership between different organizations across Africa. So there's the Ocean Climate Innovation Hub, which I head. Then there's Emerging Climate Frontiers. My colleague, my friend Elijah is there from Emerging Climate Frontiers. He'll tell you more about the organization. And then there is Sailor. Sailor is based in South Africa. It's South African Innovation Lab focused on emerging climate technologies. And there's Ocean Visions. Ocean Visions is an NGO based in the US that runs programs under the UN Ocean Decade. That the hubs are under. Then Ocean Visions is an NGO focused on ocean-based climate solutions. And one of the solutions is reaching out to people from different parts of the world. Then our program is under the UN Ocean Decade. So we are representing different organizations. And our topic today is focused on marine carbon dioxide removal. The topic is called From Science to Climate Impact, Multidisciplinary Pathways for Marine Carbon Dioxide Removal in Africa. So we'll be discussing about this emerging technology, what it is and why it matters to Africa. So today you'll have three presenters, myself, Ms. Caitlin Well, and then who will be joining online, and Mr. Elijah Bakari, who is here with us. So first of all, I know you probably wondering what is this marine carbon dioxide removal. So in brief, and also why this conversation matters, especially after Professor right now has finished talking about climate change and and about green energy and how it's important to transition to green energy. And so with this conversation today is also about climate change and what other solution is there. And this solution is majorly focused on removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere using the ocean. So marine carbon dioxide removal, these are technologies. There are different technologies that aim to enhance the capacity of the ocean to absorb and store atmospheric carbon dioxide. So there are different pathways. And why use the ocean? Because first of all, the ocean is a huge carbon sink. About 30% of the carbon dioxide that is being emitted is absorbed by the ocean, and also it absorbs heat that is being generated by us. So this, like what I was saying previously, first of all, it's already an active carbon sink. And these technologies, the main aim or why they were designed is to enhance the ability of the ocean to capture more carbon dioxide. There are different techniques. There is the nature-based, which is, for example, the use of the blue carbon. This is the mangrove forest, the seagrass, the seaweeds. These are the blue carbon ecosystem, which are part of the marine environment. They absorb, they help, they support in the removal of carbon dioxide. In fact, the mangrove forests have been identified to absorb more carbon dioxide than the terrestrial forests. Then there's the use of microalgae cultivation, where microalgae is cultivated, or there is what we call ocean fertilization, where ions are added into the ocean to increase absorption, to increase growth of microalgae. Microalgae are microscopic organisms which are photosynthetic, so they tend to absorb a lot of carbon dioxide. Then you have the electrochemical techniques where you use electricity. In this case, ocean water is passed through the plant, and electricity is used to strip off the acidity from the ocean and release clean water with low acidity. Then there's the use of deep sea storage. Deep sea storage, the whole idea behind this is that the ocean goes very deep, and there are some areas where in the ocean it's dead. So any biomass can be stored. So biomass that is rich in carbon can be stored in the ocean. Then there's the macroalgae. Macroalgae is seaweed like kelp, and this technique is the growth you grow the seaweed, and then once they grow, they're photosynthetic, they capture carbon dioxide, and they can be stored or converted deep inside the ocean, or they can be converted in a form that stores the carbon dioxide. Then the other technique is ocean alkalinity enhancement. This is adding alkaline minerals in the ocean to reduce, because if something is acidic, you add alkaline minerals, it will reduce the acidity, and this will encourage the ocean to capture more carbon dioxide. And lastly, you have artificial upwelling. This is now, it usually happens naturally in the natural ocean environment, but you can use tools to encourage the mixing of the water, so that the water with low carbon dioxide can come up. So these are different techniques, very scientific, but like Professor said, and I think the presenter who spoke yesterday said, climate change is not a science only. It's something that is affecting all of us, and all of us need to take action. And so, meaning that these techniques is not just science only, but also it involves community, it involves the governments, because the ocean is used by everyone. It also involves, it can also lead to job opportunities for people, but what we are here to discuss today is what are the opportunities for Africa in this, and what does it mean? Because at the moment, most of these techniques are being implemented in other countries of the world. In Africa, mostly we've done, like in Kenya, we've gone very far ahead with the mangrove forest, but none of these techniques have been explored in most African countries. So why is this important for African countries, and how can we be part of this? And also, at the moment, as we are speaking, there is very little research coming out of these techniques in African countries. So how can we reframe this narrative, considering that Africa is rich in natural resources? There are about over 30 countries which have a coastline, and apart from that, there are so many opportunities that African countries can gain from this. So what is the strategic advantage for African countries? Number one, for us to, like you've seen, some of these techniques need energy. Some of them need, for example, the one with electrical energy. So we already have access to abundant renewable energy that needs to be used, probably is not being used at the moment. We have a lot of natural alkaline materials that are found in in our lands. We have olivine, we have limestone. Can these materials be tested for the use on maybe ocean alkalinity enhancement? We have very productive or very diverse oceans across Africa. Like here in Kenya, we have the Indian Ocean, but in other countries, they are connected to the Mediterranean Sea. We have a lot of knowledge, local knowledge and indigenous knowledge that has not been explored. Probably these are techniques that maybe indigenous communities in our coastal area, they know about, but they're not really connecting them to climate change. We have the coastline and marine environments that can be used to do some pilots, to test out some of these techniques. And lastly, Africa has a huge human capital and scientists. Every other day, like in TUM, 5,000 graduates, where are they going? So how can we use innovation and support our scientists or our youths to be part of this initiative? So this is also, there's been some work that has been going on in African countries. Like I said, it's not like we are at zero, but there's some initiative. This is our research team here at TUM and Kenya Marine and Fisheries. Our research was we were researching on ocean alkalinity enhancement to see if alkaline materials are added in the ocean water, what impact will it have on the marine organisms, especially the phytoplanktons. Phytoplanktons are very small. They're the smallest organisms found in the ocean. They are photosynthetic, and they're the primary producers. So in the food chain, if the phytoplanktons die or they don't do well, it will affect the whole ecosystem. So our study, this is what we were studying, and this is a joint project with 17 other countries across the world, and ours was the only African country working on this research. So it was an intercomparison study. If the same study was being done across those 17 countries, and we wanted to see how will this affect the waters in Kenya or the ecosystems in Kenya. So this is lab-based. We collected the water from the ocean. This is kelp. Kelp is grown in, there's an organization in Namibia that grows kelp. Kelp is mostly used for these studies. Not for this study. This organization in Namibia, it has a company. They grow kelp in the ocean, and then they use the kelp to first of all sequester, remove carbon dioxide, and secondly, they harvest the kelp and use it. Oh. Okay. So it's not working. So they harvest the kelp and use it for so they harvest the kelp, and part of the kelp that is harvested, they use it to make biostimulants. Biostimulants are used for agriculture, so they support the communities there. They sell it at a low cost to communities in Namibia to support the agriculture development. And then this year, the mangrove, I've already spoken about it, and also there are some studies that are being undertaken to see, apart from the carbon dioxide being removed by the mangrove, can some of these, the soils that, with mangrove, the carbon dioxide is stored in the tree itself, but also stored in the sediments. Now, it has been shown that some of these sediments are alkaline in nature, and there are people who are creating models to see how much can we also capture, can we also show that some of the alkaline sediment found in the mangrove forest is actually help in the removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The last picture there, that is a study from South Africa. They are mostly focused in monitoring the ocean to see how it's what we call MRV, developing MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification. So they're using those robots, they're putting them in the ocean to monitor the ocean and see how much pH is in the ocean, how much temperature is there in real time, and creating models that can be used to study some of these techniques. When you're using models, the good thing is that you can test it with your computer and see, how best you can implement some of these studies. My colleague will go into details, Caitlin will go into details about some of these techniques, but with the study that we did with ocean alkalinity enhancement, it has been shown alkalinity enhancement can also solve some of the acidification problems happening in the ocean. So another thing that we've been doing, we've been hosting workshops, giving trainings to early career professionals, talk about this in global platforms. Why do we do this? One, we noticed that there's very little information or knowledge about marine carbon dioxide removal in Africa, both at policy level and at research level. So how can we encourage more research to be done in African countries? So we do the advocacy, and we also train. We bring in experts who train, and either in workshops or at regional or global conferences, so that everybody is aware and they also understand why this is important, what role can they play in this. So this is why it matters in Africa. So first of all, like I said before, there's so many studies that are happening across the globe, and it is important for Africa to be also part of it and also understand what this is. And the other thing which is very important is that this is still very early on, I would say, even although there are some countries which have already, done the research, they're at their pilot stage, but it's still quite early on. And this means that there's an opportunity for African researchers or African countries to see how this can work well, and also in the African context or African-led, because for many years, African countries have been receivers. Something is done in maybe Europe, but Africa does not have their own research outputs, their own solutions. So it's an opportunity for Africans to have this. So from our side, what we've done, we are developing an African roadmap, and this roadmap is covering these different chapters, and it is a framework to see what do we need for African countries to be part of these solutions, and what do we have, what don't we have, and what direction should we take, who should be involved, and also what do we need? Do we need funding? What do we need to put in our policies? What levels of research do we need to have? Who should we collaborate with? So our first meeting was in Dar es Salaam. We had we had participants from 13 African countries with support from African Union and the government of Kenya and Dar es Salaam, and other research institutes and academic institutes, as well as private sector across Africa. And these are some of the institutes which were involved in the process, in the initial process, and we are continuing to engage them and continuing to work with them in developing the roadmap. So some of the things so far that are surfacing, that are coming out from the roadmap is right now there are weak regulations that lack CDR policy or carbon removal, carbon dioxide removal policies. So it makes it difficult for investors to invest in these technologies. And also there's the issue of somebody talked about the carbon markets. Professor here talked about the carbon markets. This is also connected to that. It's not very clear at the moment. And one very important thing is there's that environmental risk that comes with these techniques. So how do we know what are these environmental risks, and how can we de-risk these technologies so that we can benefit at an economic level, but also as a social and also scientific level for African countries. Then the aim is, once we have the roadmap finished, is to have, during our Oceans Conference, is to have a public consultation. So the document will be put online. Anybody can put their comments and suggest improvements or add information on the gaps. And also, we are developing a partnership that will help implement this roadmap with African Learning Institutes, where TUM is, where I work. TUM is going to help lead this process. So I hope to, even if you won't be at our Oceans, but this document will be put out in public. So I'm going to stop there, and I'll ask my colleague to come and, Elijah, to come and continue with this conversation. But before that, anybody with a question?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that presentation. My question will be, for the sake of sustainability, how are you planning to engage the community, or in your research? I mean, did you engage the community, and what is their view in that beautiful research you are doing? Thank you.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is just one of the techniques for climate mitigation. And community engagement is a big part of it, as well as communication. Like what we are doing right now is also community engagement. Because how do you define community? Community, you have the community, the research community, the local communities, indigenous communities. So all of these people need to be engaged at different levels. So how you engage maybe researchers is different with how you engage the local communities, or even policymakers are part of our community. So that's also a very different conversation we have with them. There's a slide I showed you with the trainings that we do, the workshops, that we do them with different stakeholders. Some is for focus, some trainings are focused and aimed at early career researchers or researchers in general, but others are for stakeholders, different stakeholders. And one thing, before any of these techniques are deployed, or for example, a pilot is set up in an marine environment, it is very important to engage both people from the government level and at a community level. But at the moment, we've not started doing any pilots or deployments. So where we are at the moment is engaging people to understand what is happening, and for also them to know what is their role. And if this, for example, if a pilot project is to be set up, they have an idea of what it is, and they know where they can get more information about it. Thank you.
No, I think the question I had, you have already answered it, but maybe to put up another one for clarification about, okay, the levels of pollutions and the indicators. Okay, once it is piloted and once is deployed now in the oceans, what are, okay, the possible indicators, maybe in terms of percentages of the areas that can be improved so that the restoration is done, and also the level of restorations required for different microorganisms, and maybe the projections of of success now that we have models, AI models that can be able to predict that.
Yeah. So I'll try to to respond based on the understanding of the question. So you're asking about what indicators, or what are we measuring exactly, right? So depending on the technology that is being used. So for some of these techniques, the most important thing, especially if you're working on ocean alkalinity enhancement, is pH. Because with the pH, you are able to know, are you reducing the acidity or not? And the second thing we measure is the carbon itself. Carbon dioxide itself, how much is dissolved, and so this means, so you're measuring how much has been removed from the atmosphere, so you measure how much is dissolved carbon dioxide that is found in the water. But also, it depends on the technique you're using. Like with the mangrove forest, how you measure the carbon, you're looking at the biomass itself. With the what is it, seagrass is also different. So depending on the technique, if it's ocean alkalinity enhancement, majorly is pH and alkalinity itself that you measure in the ocean. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to look a little bit more into the research community in the sense that it is a highly multidisciplinary environment. I see possible role of chemists, I see possible role of biologists, physicists, probably environmental scientists, and mathematicians generally. Are you able to reach all these communities, and how do you reach them? Because I also tend to think that there's a lot of bottlenecks in research. Probably it's just entrusted to a few research institutions like ChemFree and the likes. The university involvement probably could be weak, yet it is from the universities that we have a pool of students, you know, the undergraduates and even postgraduates who could contribute substantively into this kind of research. So I don't know which strategy you have for involving this diverse research community.
Yeah. Okay, I'll speak a little bit about it, but Elijah is going to elaborate on this, because one way to reach people, like I said, is first of all, people need to have information to understand what this is, and also to know, with my expertise, how best can I contribute to this. So first of all, we say knowledge is power. People need to have that information. Then the second thing is we need funding to be able to do this. But some of this research, you don't need funding. You can do desktop research to maybe review what is happening in the world. Because this year, I was at a conference, Ocean Science meeting. A professor did a study to review all the studies that have been done across the world on MCDR. That is like not mangrove, but ocean alkalinity enhancement, for example. There was no research coming from Africa. So, and if it was there, it was at a 0.00, so it was like very little. So some of this, first thing, there need to be awareness, and so that people know that there's this whole research gap. And secondly, to find ways to do the research, either through funding, getting funding, and two, through, you can do desktop studies or use the resources that you already have. Because since it's a very new research area, there's a possibility for getting grants to expand it. So our small contribution is that at the moment, creating awareness and training people on the different techniques. You are one of our trainers, Daktari, one time. It was him, yeah? Yeah. So this, we do that so that to encourage, especially younger researchers, to be engaged in this type of research area. So I think I'll stop that because there, and I'll ask my colleague Elijah to please join me here and to, where's the presentation? Yeah. So Elijah is from Emerging Climate Frontiers. He's programs director at Emerging Climate Frontiers, and he'll tell you more about the organization. But professionally, Elijah is an engineer, and we've been coordinating with him, especially in some of the trainings that we do. Please welcome Elijah.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Now, I know we are at a workshop, but I also happen to really be a teacher. Like, I really like teaching. So I usually love it when the class is very responsive. So if it's okay with you, is it okay if I change this into a class instead of a workshop? Is that okay? What I mean by a class is I'll ask you to respond. I might smile a little bit too much. If I smile too much, you also smile back. Is it okay if I do those things? You all agree? Okay, great. Thank you. So my class usually has a few rules, so I hope it is okay we observe these rules. The first rule is if I ask a question, respond. Even if you give me a wrong answer, it is okay, because it is my job to give you the correct answer. So just respond. If I insist that something is, if I insist that, this is great, you just agree with me, even if you don't understand, then you ask the question for me to explain further. Is that okay? So like right now, you should have said, yes. Okay, let's try that again. Is that okay? Okay, better. We'll work on that. We'll work on that. We are getting there. So let me just tell you about B and our organization, then I get into what my presentation is for today. So my name is Elijah Bakari. I put my picture there so that you can all see me, even though you can look at me. This is for the people online who might not see me at the moment, because I am so thoughtful. I'm very inclusive. You should clap for me. So I work as the programs director at Emerging Climate Frontiers. For Emerging Climate Frontiers, usually we shorten ourselves to just ECF. What we want to do is, or rather what we do is, we democratize knowledge. We ensure that knowledge is available, and we encourage researchers, of course, to do research. And then we encourage policymakers to take that research to shape policy. And we also encourage people to take on careers that will develop them, specifically within the climate intervention space. So one of our engagements and how we have interacted with the Technical University of Mombasa and the Ocean Climate Innovation Hub has, of course, been through our work with carbon dioxide removal. So if you had her mention that we've had interactions in terms of work, those are some of the things that we have done. Now, I think, should I come closer? Would that be nicer? Do you guys want me here or here? Do you want, I said it's participation. I'm very democratic. Do you want me there or here? Here. Okay. Now smile for me, because I have heard what you have said and I have done it. All right. So this is what I'll be presenting today. I just want to take you through some policy and community engagement. I will share a few things. Then the style with which I will approach, and let me just ensure I have a timer, because I am known to give long lectures and I do not have all that time today. So the thing I will do is I will compare, as I talk about MCDR, I will take experience from other places so that it can instruct us in terms of what we can do as far as MCDR is concerned. Is that okay? Then, of course, if you have a question or anything, I'm also going to take those questions. I'm going to answer them. Please, if you have your notebook and pen, feel free to engage so that we can get on with this. What is written on the screen? I told you, you guys, you all allowed me to turn it into a class. Now it is a class. Now you can read. What is written on the screen, everyone? Natural emissions. So let me just give you some information here. There is a commitment. There is a commitment to be net zero by 2050, and there are multi-level actions leading to the exploration of innovative, tech-based approaches to climate change. Now, when I talk about innovative, tech-based approaches to climate change, one of those is what we are doing today, MCDR. Of course, the larger banner is CDR. In case anyone is wondering what that is, I think we're all exposed, but in case anyone is left out, I want everyone to be included. CDR is, of course, carbon dioxide removal. CDR is, of course, carbon dioxide removal. MCDR is marine carbon dioxide removal, which was very well explained by Dr. Mariam right before I came on stage. There is an attempt to keep the world on the trajectory of 1.5 degrees Celsius. And of course, we have been exceeding that. And we think that, we know that is going to be a problem. And so our thinking is that if we do MCDR properly, we will be able to probably meet that trajectory and possibly even have a lower increase. So one of the things I will be discussing, of course, is policy. And if you look at the picture on the screen, you'll realize policy will do a lot of justice, but there'll also be a lot of reading, doing things correctly, significant amounts of deliberation, and there is even finance. Yes, there is even finance. So policy will have all of those. But before I even get further into that, I just thought it is best to start us off with some kind of definition. I don't know if I can get the microphone person to help on the floor, if that's okay. Sorry, this is a class. I love class. So if you can engage me, I would love that. And you'd also have a lot of fun while learning. So this is on F. What to do? Is it? So it's not that it is loose. Hakuna vile tunaweza hiyo kelele. Okay, so just bear with us with a little bit of technical difficulty, but all will be well. Okay, just bear with us a little bit. We're sorting this slight difficulty. Technology sometimes can be a challenge, so. Right. So the thing I'm very much interested in is, and that's what I'll be discussing today, is two things especially. Number one is policy and what policy could look like for MCDR. That's number one. And then number two, I'm very much interested, and I think we all should be, in where is the place of the community and where the community might fit in all of these. So that's what I'll be exploring, and I want to trust that that will go well. This is probably a good place as we wait to segue into. So, How's the weather? So I don't know if I can get assistance on the floor with the microphone. I would encourage you to read because this is a class, because you allowed me. Although you can now vote me out if you want. I don't do that. So, okay, let me just take us through that one. For those who might be wondering, a policy is a deliberate high-level system of principles, guidelines, or rules adopted by an organization, government, or entity to guide decisions, ensure consistency, and achieve rational long-term outcomes. Now, I want you to take note of this last part, rational long-term outcomes. The reason I'm saying take note of this part, rational long-term outcomes, is because there is places I will be mentioning it. Because you will notice sometimes we make policies that are for the now, that are for the moment, for the hype. And if we're going to do MCDR policies in a way that is sustainable and that will last a long time, we will definitely need to do things that are rational long-term, so that they can provide us with long-term outcomes. Not quick gains for the now, but things that once we put in place, they can serve us over a long period of time. And that's what I'll be aiming for. But as we talk about CDR, I just want to also look into some policies that already exist. Then we will talk about some of the implications and all of that. Now, we have the Conference of Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, who have made several decisions regarding climate interventions, like the ones we are discussing today. I want to look at two of them, then I'll give you an example of why that was important, and then I'll tell you how it will eventually be important to us. I think that follow-up is very important. So in 2010, the COP on Biological Diversity established a comprehensive non-binding normative framework for climate-related geoengineering activities like these ones that may affect biodiversity, and requesting that such activities be justified by the need to gather specific scientific data, undergo prior environmental assessment, be subject to effective regulatory oversight. So policy that already exists around some of this already is right there. The fact that we need to gather specific scientific data. Now, when you're doing all of this, ensure you undergo prior environmental assessment. So the methods that we have that Dr. Mariam has just discussed, even when we implement those, we will need to ensure we have undergone prior environmental assessment, and you need to be subject to effective regulatory oversight. Talking about effective regulatory oversight, that's where we come in. Those are some of the things we need, because in some of those places, there are entire gaps. There are no regulatory oversights in terms of how things are to be done to ensure that it is done right, and to ensure that there is a positive effect on the communities. I can be heard clearly where that microphone is. That's a good distance? I think it's clearer now, right? Okay, so I'll hold it there then. Now, on the same party's 2016 decision called for more transdisciplinary research and sharing of knowledge in order to better understand the impacts of climate-related geoengineering like CDR would be. Now, why would this be important? This is important because you might be, because of your discipline, your own study, you might be looking at something only from the direction of your knowledge. But somebody else from another field might be looking at the same data or looking at the same process and realize there is a flaw or there is a problem. That in your own discipline, you will not see that problem. But somebody from a different field will see that problem. Because in their field, those are factors they consider. That is why we call for whatever policies will be developed to be multidisciplinary. We need to see the perspective of multiple disciplines so that we can make better choices. Now, I'll also tell you about the same party, that scope on biological diversity. That's what I mean by the parties. To the London Convention on the Prevention of Marine Pollution by Dumping of Waste and Other Matters and its associated London Protocol have addressed. Now, on marine climate interventions, this is what it says. on in 2013, the parties to the London Protocol adopted an amendment to establish a legally binding framework for regulating marine climate interventions, initially limited to ocean fertilization and requiring assessment and permitting before any activity proceeds. Now, I should tell you, at the moment, this has not yet been adopted because not enough countries have signed this so that it can be ratified. There is a number of countries you need so that it can be ratified. We don't have enough countries involved here, so the thing is not yet official. It's still, quote unquote, a suggestion. We suggest that this is how things should be done. So we need more countries to be involved. We need more knowledge so that countries can make votes on this. And as that happens, then perhaps we'll have a framework that has been ratified. And maybe that's where perhaps organizations like mine come in. We come in to ensure that the required knowledge so that you understand these things, so that you can shape your policy, is available. That's what we seek to do. So on this, perhaps the countries have not voted on this and ratified this because a number of the policy makers in those countries are not yet aware, or they don't understand the implications, first for themselves, for their people, and for their economies. So it becomes very important for that information to be availed out there so that they can successfully be able to do what's best for them, for their people, and for their economies. Speaking of which, I want to introduce you to this man. You have been told about ocean fertilization, but I want to introduce you to what I will call the 2012 experiment. In case you do not know who that man is, oh wait, this is a fun game. Does anyone know who this is? Anyone? Anyone? I can assure you he's not from your favorite series on chemistry. You know yourselves. No, he's not that man. So no one has an idea. Okay, then I will tell you who he is. In the 2012 experience, his name is Russ George. His name is Russ George. So the reason he's an important figure in what I'm mentioning is because one of the most controversial large-scale ocean fertilization experiments was conducted in 2012 by American businessman Russ George, whose picture I've shown you. He dumped somewhere between 100 and 120 tons of iron sulfate into the Pacific Ocean. He was partnering with the Haida Nation in British Columbia, and the project aimed to boost salmon populations and create carbon credits, and it drew intense criticism for its potential negative environmental impacts and violation of international bans on geoengineering specifically, because this is what he was thinking. His logic was very simple. I do ocean fertilization, we increase the amount of plankton. We increase the amount of plankton, the fish eat that plankton, and specifically this was, I believe this was salmon. So the fish eat that plankton. The fish eat that plankton, they grow big, and they also reproduce, therefore we increase their number. But also because there is sequestration of carbon by plankton converting carbon dioxide into food material. So the thought was, I could also collect carbon credits by saying I have sequestered a significant amount of this carbon. We're together. That was his argument. That was his plan. Sounds like a good plan or a bad plan. How many think it was a good plan? Raise your hand where you are. If you think it was a good plan. Remember, you can be right, you can be wrong. It is okay, but we have to be something. Whatever you are, oh, this is the time to be a motivational speaker. Whatever you choose to be something. Okay, so how many think he was right in thinking about this? It's controversial, yes, but how many think his logic was sound? How many think his logic was incorrect? Raise your hand. Okay, let's try that again. How many think his logic was correct? Okay. How many think his logic was incorrect? Okay. Then let me include others. How many of us don't know? Oh, okay. Quite there are hands that have not gone up at all, so let me include another category for them because I'm an inclusive person. How many of you will not raise your hands no matter what I ask? All right. So the reason this was controversial was if I can take you back, or maybe if I can use that example, some of these things were not done. These were established in like 2010. So it did not undergo prior environmental assessment, and it was not subject to any effective regulatory oversight. That right there is the problem. So whether his logic was sound or not, these two things are already making it very controversial. Very simple. And why would it also be controversial specifically in terms of negativity? The fact that he was not even working with scientists from other fields. This was not a multidisciplinary endeavor. There was no opinion from people from other disciplines in terms of, because let me put it like this. If your expertise, for example, is chemistry, there is a way you will think around this experiment. If your expertise is another discipline, there is a way you will think about this. So for us to know whether this is a good decision or it is a bad decision, we need to hear from all these people from the different disciplines. I hope I'm already starting to lead you in the right direction in terms of how we would go with our policy. Are we together? Are we together? Okay. So let me take you back to him. Now, there is something I want to cover, but if you can allow me to skip it, then if I finish everything and I have time, I will come to it. Because it's a good practical exercise in terms of being able to teach, but sometimes it takes time. I can take an entire session to teach it. So let me not go through that. But some of you might be familiar with it. I wanted us to use the iceberg model system of thinking to figure out how to create excellent policies. Remember when I told you there is a tendency for us to create policies that get people happy and excited, but in the long term they are not sustainable or they are not effective in the first place. Remember when I mentioned that? Now, if time allows, I will use this particular tool. Okay, I will use the iceberg model system thinking to try and help you understand why you should do policies in particular way that makes them effective and ensures they last long term. I will do that if time allows. For now, allow me to discuss other things, and if time allows, I come back here. Is that okay? Thank you. Or I should ask? Okay. From the picture, who can guess what I'm about to talk about? Say it loudly, it's okay. Like I said, the only wrong answer is silence. Teamwork, okay, I like that. Very close, that comes very close. You remember what my first topic was? My topic from the very beginning, if you paid attention, you'd know. It was right there, and now it's... Anyone? Say it loudly, it's okay. Silence is the wrong answer. Wrong answers are more correct than silence. You can also say, I don't know, or we don't know. Just say something. All right, I'll proceed. Here goes. I wanted us to talk about this. Read it loudly, everyone. Yes, I want us to talk about that. Now, the projects that we do and will do in MCDR, it is very likely they will occur within communities. And whether they occur within or outside communities, they will still affect communities. We are together? Wherever they occur, they are definitely going to affect communities around where the project is being executed. Now, what is community engagement? I like to hear the sound of my audience. It is always beautiful. Is the microphone down there? Can anyone read that for us? I know I can read it, but you've been listening to me for so long. Let me introduce you to the beautiful sound of your own voices. Anyone can read it. If you have the mic, if you want to read it, it's cool. Or you can pass the mic, whichever. There's a microphone, right? Thank you.
You know, community contains everybody, and each and every person is unique. So you just get them to bring their uniqueness into a particular project.
Yes. Can you also read that for us? The definition.
Definition, community engagement is the strategic process of building relationships with community members to work as equal partners, fostering trust and ensuring their voices guide decisions that affect their lives. In the case of MCDR, this should happen for both biotic and abiotic MCDR.
Yeah, I'll talk about those. Okay, let me just proceed. So here's the thing. Currently, and I think since the room has researchers, the researchers will perhaps be able to tell us more about this. What currently happens is there was a time where in research we used to view the people, but this especially happened with social science. We used to view the people that we are doing research with or research on as subjects. Like we are studying this community. They're like lab rats. You understand? They used to be, and that was in current scientific practice, even within social science, we don't do that. We view the people we are working with more as partners. So we get to hear their voices, and we get to understand what they need and how this research might affect their lives, or how this research might be positive for their lives, or negative, and what we can change. So essentially, they are partners when we are doing research. It is no longer an issue of we are looking at them as if they are subjects, like they are lab rats, and we're just studying, oh, they have done that. Oh, now that the project is going on, how is it affecting them? Oh, they did what? Ooh, that is so intelligent, or whatever. No, they're not lab rats now, they are partners. So I'm just telling you the most ethical way currently to do community engagement. So some very important things here are you view them as equal partners. There is a tendency, especially for us who might be implementing projects, because of your knowledge, your research, your exposure, your education, and you're dealing there maybe with a community member who's not as exposed or as educated as you, there is a tendency to think they don't know. There's just a tendency you think they don't know. Like, now, can I even explain this thing I want to do to them? I mean, this thing I want to do here, will they even understand? And do I even need their opinion? So if you're doing community engagement, those are attitudes we no longer hold. We view them now as equal partners. We foster trust and ensure that voices guide decisions that affect their lives. Now, I wanted to give you examples from across different fields. And I think, let me just, yeah, I can do that. So allow me to give you maybe some examples, then this will make sense. Now, because I don't want to be political, I might not mention where some of these lessons are from. So I'll mention them more generally, but then some of you already know the stories, so it will make perfect sense. There's some lessons I can give you from energy generation.
Can I make a request?
Yes.
That probably you go faster so that we can have more questions.
Answers. Okay, yeah. I'll do that. Thank you. All right. So lessons from energy generation as well as lessons from some land-based CDR. Let me just give these examples so that we can avoid the mistakes that were made here. We can avoid them when it comes to MCDR. From energy generation, sometimes when particular projects have been put up, whether it's some wind farms, whether it's some solar power farms, one of the problems sometimes we have had has been on community land that has cultural significance and that the community handles in a particular way. We see the same also in some projects to drill oil. I know we are not encouraging more oil drilling because we eventually have to remove all that carbon dioxide. But we've seen similar problems. Now, some of the things that have happened is you found communities feel like they have been disenfranchised when it comes to their land. And in order to deal with this, the best way was engage the community, communicate with the community, know what they need, and then what you will provide. Just have that dialogue so that when you are doing something with their land, it is taken positively, and they can even be engaged in the process. So that when you need to do that with another community, do something in a different piece of land, then there will be buy-in from that community because they don't think they will be disenfranchised like the other community was disenfranchised. That's a very simple lesson. And since I want to move through, yes, because I know where my time is. Okay. Since I want to move through, I would say this. When it comes to MCDR and whatever projects, whatever methods, because a number of methods and implementations have been shared. When it comes to MCDR, then it becomes important for us also to engage the communities. If you want to do something around mangroves, for example, because I find that is very popular here, it is best to engage the community. How will they benefit from the planting of mangroves and all of that? And then one question I like to ask that people like to judge me for, but once I say it, you will see where I'm coming from. I noticed that when you say you're doing something good for the planet, you're thinking very altruistically. You're thinking in terms of what is good for me, what is good for other people, their children and their children's children. And you think that everyone else has a hollow around their head and that they think like you, everyone is an angel. So working on the ground, this is what I've noticed, and you will tell me if I'm right. There are a number of communities who do not necessarily think about the future. They are thinking about the now. How do I benefit right now? And I've looked at two things. Number one, communities care about what is the economic incentive. How do I benefit economically from what you're telling me to do? And any project you ever take on with the community, figure out how they can benefit. If it's money in their pocket somehow, if they're a fishing community, what can happen that whatever you're asking us to do, will it increase the amount of fish so that I can fish more? Essentially, people, not everyone, and I know this is sad, and some of us now have lost our faith in humanity because of this statement, but not everyone is altruistic. Not everyone wants to do good for the sake of doing good. So if you want to do a project excellently, one thing you must focus on is how will the people who are doing that project benefit at a personal level. Trust me, they will cooperate. Not because they love the planet. I should have come with my t-shirt, love your planet. No, not because they love their planet, no. It's because they are benefiting. And that's one way you can ensure that projects are successful. Are we learning? I'm actually almost finished with my slides. Are we learning? Are we learning? Yes, thank you. There was something that was done by the Western Indian Ocean Marine Scientists Association. Dr. Mariam is here, so she was at that particular workshop. And they spoke about some strategic opportunities for Africa. Let me just quickly take you through them. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the deployment of carbon dioxide removals is necessary to achieve global targets of net zero greenhouse gas emissions. It is not optional, it is mandatory. Now, IPCC scenarios indicate that we will need to remove up to 15 billion tons of CO2 every year by 2050. And this is against our current removals, which stand at 5 million tons. Yet we need to remove 15 billion. Do you see the opportunity that exists, even financially? Because I told you, communities want to hear how they can benefit financially. So, primarily through nature-based removals, mainly forests. While nature-based solutions are a key part of the equation, we will need to complement them with more technologies, technological CDR in innovations that reduce the pressure on land use and offer permanent removals. Some of which, of course, will be our MCDR techniques. Now, bear with me, about 3 slides to go. Just 3 slides. So I want to ask the question, how Africa can leverage the opportunity in MCDR. An enabling regulatory framework is required to position Africa to be a destination for high-quality carbon removal projects. Hence why I'm saying so much about policy. There is need for training and capacity building to build an ecosystem of standards and verification facilitated by African companies and players. It is very important for people sitting in the room and people who are listening to me that are specifically on the continent to take note of this part. Standards and verification facilitated by African companies and players. Why? So that the benefits of doing this can also stay within our own local communities as well. So that as we engage ourselves in removing carbon dioxide, we can also benefit from whatever that is. I know most people are already thinking about carbon credits. You are not wrong. Carbon credits are part of it. I'm not saying it is the only thing. Carbon credit is just a part of it. But I know it's a major thing because of what I said. Economics. Economics are a big fact or are very helpful in ensuring that people cooperate. Now, what is the current situation as far as Africa is concerned? I'd say, if you ask me personally, I'd say MCDR is a near-term opportunity to strengthen Africa's climate resilience and blue economy. If you ask me, that's what I would say, because there is, like you've just been told, there's a large coastline. More than 30 countries in Africa have access to the coastline. So if you're saying you're doing MCDR, Africa is a good place with more than 30 countries that have access to the coastline. That's number one. Now, if you're talking about carbon credits and the fact that there is sequestration of carbon as a result of MCDR activities, then those are things that contribute to blue economy. So there's a lot of benefit, if you ask me. Now, something that some people don't know is that expertise and commitment on MCDR already exists within the continent. I know people are thinking that if we say Africa is going to do MCDR, we will need a lot of expatriate knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just interest you in the fact that locally here, including in this university, we have people who are very well versed when it comes to MCDR. So if we need this knowledge to be deployed and disseminated, you don't have to go far. It actually exists within African universities. I'm just letting you know. And to also tell you that all efforts to advance MCDR must be grounded in sound science and robust monitoring. All right. The other thing I will mention is transparent governance and equity are essential for the successful evaluation and potential for deployment of MCDR pathways. Transparent governance and equity are essential for the successful evaluation and potential for deployment of MCDR pathways, which is why I keep saying we need to do something about our policy. We need to do something as well to ensure the knowledge is transparent and all of that. Africa's leadership on MCDR will emerge through collaboration, innovation, and shared purpose. This is my last slide. Allow me to just read through it because I think probably my time is up. Now, the way forward is very simple. Establish transparency through African MCDR roadmap and online engagement. What we have done ourselves is we have been, now for ECF, we have been trying to get this knowledge out there. We have done webinars. We have held short courses as well. We've even done one here before. We've held short courses. We've held fellowships for researchers and all of that. What is our intention? Our intention is this knowledge is available. We want to give you as much of this knowledge as possible so that you can make decisions, develop solutions, do your entrepreneurship, just be set up properly when it comes to climate interventions, and in our case today, MCDR. I would say success depends on a bottom-up innovation where communities, researchers, and startups co-design context-specific solutions supported by enabling policy and partnerships. Policy and partnerships. I want to say so much, but let me hold myself. Capacity building, I think I've already mentioned that. And then creating inclusive communication strategies even in local languages. Remember when I told you the communities are not just subjects, they are participants. So if you're dealing with a community that does not speak English or does not speak Swahili, and whatever you're doing in MCDR is relevant to them, have you thought of the fact that perhaps you also need to create that strategy in local languages? Have you thought explaining it to them in local languages would be a way to go? When it comes to community engagement, I think that is very necessary. So if they don't speak official languages, use those alternatives. And finally, aligning MCDR with national and regional climate strategies, as well as prioritizing small, well-monitored pilots with clear benefits, sharing frameworks. Yes, so sometimes before you do a large implementation, it is a better idea to do a pilot and study what is happening and also get the community's feel. And if you're going to shape policies for governance, results like those are what are going to tell us what is necessary. Yes.
Thank you very much, Elijah. Anyone with a question? We'll take 2 maximum short ones because our last presenter is online. Anyone with a question?
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. My question was on that salmon. Was it a good, was it a bad one? Was it, did it work or didn't it work? And what are the side effects? Because I know of, you were seeing in the media the side effects of COVID were very many, but so this is kind of like you're talking of policies and environmental changes. So what happened to the salmon?
So, there were claims. Notice the choice of words. Claims that indeed there was actually an increase in the amount of salmon that was being caught. But now this was said by the man who was, him and his team are the ones who are saying this. So should we believe it? We don't know. But there were claims that indeed there was an increase in the amount of salmon. But there are other people who are saying that that is not necessarily true. And even if there was an increase in the amount of salmon, it could be as a result of other things, not necessarily the experiment that you did. So, and this is why I keep saying it has to be multidisciplinary. You could do something and claim you're the cause of a positive result, but we need other people in other disciplines so that we know. So for that experiment, we're not sure whether the salmon increased or not, and if it did, we're not even sure it's cause of him. Hence the need for multidisciplinary engagement. Now we would need someone to research that, which goes back to my point of multidisciplinary knowledge, because he probably isn't a food scientist or a toxicologist. So was there toxification as a result of that? Now we would need a Now you see why multidisciplinary things would be important in policy and research and all that. Yes. I hope I've answered the question. Thank you. There's another question. There's a question here.
In cases when you are doing multidisciplinary research, you would find that several methods of research are involved. So you will find one method would prove the benefits that are going to be gained immediately by the intended audience or the intended community. And you will find that in some cases there is disadvantage in a group of communities. Like, for example, if you think in terms of creating packages out of paper, you will find that a lot of forests would have to be used as a process of creating it. But the end result of the package is that it will end up dirtifying the environment, especially in large urban areas like Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru. And in a way where I would want to still support you to some extent, but we need to be able to increase the multidisciplinary researches, because the one aspect that has been covered by the creation of a solution to a problem in one area would end up being a problem in the other areas, as I have just explained. And from my view, as a person dealing with advertising, I would recommend the cheapest packages, which would be used to try and be able to make sure that the customer can be able to get the product in the cheapest price. But then you find that the plastics, which are more cheaper than the forests, would end up staying in the environment for about 50 years without decomposing. So there's an element of the biodecomposition. So sometimes you will find it even better to use the forests and allow it to decompose for time, and then from there burn it in the normal way. You will then be able to create a clean environment. But from my view, I am seeing the African environment being depleted as a result of trying to provide the biodecomposable packages. But on the other hand, you will find most of the companies have gone to the plastics, like the current milk packages. They have changed all of a sudden from mixed up plastics with wood and elements of forests, but now they are completely plastic. So I would wish to say that we need to be able to combine both methods, but you need to be able to be a little bit more cautious in dealing with the that element, because even as you deal with one area, trying to solve it, you are actually creating other problems in other parts of the community.
Yes, so I would agree with in terms of balancing, because customers, of course, want to go for the cheapest product, but then you also would have to consider the environment. I would agree with that approach. And there is always a compromise as well. Like if I used your example, perhaps we could make that new packaging paper from recycled material from other paper that was necessary. That now would be a compromise for in between. So multidisciplinary can be involved, because it would also allow us to weigh our advantages and disadvantages and potentially arrive at a compromise. Yes. Thank you very much. I hope this was impactful. Were we learning? Yes. I'll still be around, so if you have any other questions or other discussions you want us to have, I am available, and I love discussing the things that you've seen me present. So I'm more than willing. Yes. Thank you.
Please clap for our guest, Mr. Elijah. So the last presenter in this session is online. She's Miss Caitlin Whale. She's an engineer, and she's speaking from South Africa, Cape Town. Please, Caitlin, if you can hear us, please, and if you're online. Caitlin, if you can hear us, please say something. Yeah, we can see you, but we can't hear you. We can see you. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I was allow access to microphone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You can share. Can you share your slides?
Jambo, everyone, and thank you for having me in Mombasa. I am sorry I can't be there in person, but I have been before, and it's a wonderful place. And thank you, Elijah. That was very entertaining, and I am grateful for the opportunity to share marine carbon dioxide removal innovations. So let me share my screen, and can you please give me confirmation once you can see the slides? Mariam, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you able to share your slides?
I'm trying. It's just doing the wheel of death at the moment, but let's see what happens. Maybe I'll just introduce myself as that's loading. I'll also just tag you in it. So, Mariam, I don't know if there's a facility there that you could present if this doesn't work.
You can send the slides.
Can you see anything? Because currently it looks like there's existing slides. It says Kennett Web Conference from my side. Can we stop sharing that one?
So you can also send me your slides and I'll share them from my side.
Okay, great. Let me just tag you. You actually have access to it already. So I'll just share the link via WhatsApp if that works.
Okay. That's okay.
Thank you. So in the meantime, hello everyone. My name is Caitlin Whale. I am the founder of Kinjani, and we work with entrepreneurs across sub-Saharan Africa who are building companies in the climate sector. And I also have founded SAILOR, which is the South African Innovation Lab for Ocean Climate Resilience, which is similar to the Ocean Climate Innovation Hub that Mariam runs in Kenya. I'm doing a similar focus in South Africa, and we work together to see how we can create marine carbon dioxide removal environments in these different regions. And before I did this, I was actually at an investment fund in London that would invest into carbon dioxide removal companies. And so the perspective that I bring is both from a investor's hat with a carbon removal perspective, and as Mariam said, an engineering background, so looking at what might physically work in some of these regions. I'd love to speak to the slides. Mariam, have you received the link?
Yes, in a moment, we are sharing.
No worries. So maybe I'll just start on what will be aired as the first slide, which is looking at the different types of marine carbon dioxide removal, which I know Mariam already presented the image from Ocean Visions, which looks at more biology-based removals, such as biomass or macroalgae growing and sinking, to more engineered solutions, such as ocean alkalinity enhancement or direct ocean capture. And what's really interesting with these different approaches is there's still quite a wide range of uncertainty of where they are from a technological readiness and their potential carbon dioxide removal potential. And particularly on the more engineered side, the electrochemical carbon dioxide removal and alkalinity enhancement, the potential for carbon dioxide being removed is what they classify as between 1 and 100 gigatons within each of these pathways. So I just preface that to say that there's still a lot that needs to be proven about the scale, but from the current scientific understanding is that the potential is huge. And even if all of the 7 to 9 gigatons of carbon that needs to be removed on an annual basis were done so through the ocean, it would have a 0.01% impact on the carbon balance in the ocean. So there's huge potential, but this is where we really need science and innovation to work together to move from it being lab-based to coming into the field.
Okay,
what I'll share with you are you winning?
Yeah, it should be there in a few minutes. When you see it, you can just start, and then if you need to go to the next slide, you just say next so that someone is here to assist you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I'll just carry on talking to it, and then when the slides come up, I'll just highlight what I've been speaking about. But I guess what's good to remember with all of these innovations is that they are still in their infancy. So globally, there are currently less than 50 field trials, more on the engineered side of the marine carbon dioxide removal spectrum. So if we could go to the slide that has the graph, I think it's slide 3. Yes, great. So this shows of concluded and operating field trials. There was a snapshot of end of last year where we were globally. There's less than 50 field trials, so it's still really, really new, and that's ranging from macroalgae sequestration to nutrient fertilization, direct ocean capture, electrochemical ocean alkalinity enhancement, artificial upwelling, biomass sinking, and mineral-based ocean alkalinity. Next slide, please. And this diagram, which I actually spoke to earlier, is showing that from each of these different pathways, on the left-hand side, the abiotic approaches, that's where there's bigger uncertainty, but bigger from a tech readiness perspective, but bigger potential carbon dioxide being removed. All the way to the right-hand side, which is the biotic approaches, where there's higher tech readiness, but the degree of carbon dioxide removal potential is much lower. So there are 4 different logos which are highlighted at the bottom of this: Secure, Planetary, Saharan Sand, and Mozambican Channel, which isn't a logo, but I'll come to it, and Kelp Blue. And these are each approaches that are operating that we'll talk to slide by slide. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Starting with Planetary, this is an ocean alkalinity enhancement company that is running field trials in Nova Scotia at the moment. And they have partnered with existing outfall locations, such as wastewater treatment centers, as a way to have a semi-closed system to be able to quantify both the amount of alkalinity that's being put into the water and control before it gets released into the open ocean. And this is where we're seeing actual potential techno-economic benefits, is where innovations can loop into infrastructure supply chains, such as wastewater treatment works or desalination works, to do the semi-closed and add-on kind of retrofitted innovations within infrastructure. Next slide, please. Secure is an academic project led by the University of Exeter, where they are doing field trials in Weymouth in the United Kingdom, where they are running electricity through seawater, separating it into an acid and a base, and then from the acid, removing the carbon dioxide from it, and then going on to run that CO2 through a biochar-based filter, which gets it up to 99% purity, remixing that acid carbon dioxide depleted water with the alkaline water and putting it back in the ocean, which then has a higher pH, and it's able to take in more carbon dioxide from that capsule of water. Next slide, please. Kelp Blue, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about them. They are a giant kelp cultivating company that have sites in Namibia where they're growing this seaweed and then bringing it on land and processing it mainly for application within the biostimulant industry. They are measuring what is being sequestered within the ocean, but then there's also a soil organic carbon benefit from using the macroalgae biostimulant on land. Next slide, please. So nutrient fertilization is, I don't know if it's been discussed previously there, but it's more of a contentious issue, particularly because of the case in Canada where the trials that happened actually didn't end up well, and the impacts were felt by the coastal communities where the fish stock went down. And so it's much more, I guess, sensitive as an artificial approach. But there are places such as in the Mozambican Channel where this is naturally occurring. So the Saharan sand with certain nutrients is being swept into the channel, which is stimulating the nutrients within that channel. And as a result, you're seeing quite a lot of sequestration of carbon happening through a lot of sea activity that occurs there. Next slide, please. And I guess just coming to the question, which I'm sure has been raised throughout this conference, around what does safe piloting look like in an open system? Because what happens on land ends up running into the ocean, and we need to make sure that the measurement, reporting, and verification of these approaches and the ongoing governance is really led by scientific approaches and monitoring and ongoing engagement, as well as working with multi-stakeholders. And so I'm grateful to be speaking to you during this multidisciplinary conference, because this is really a topic where we need to be working with coastal communities, we need to be working with scientists, we need to be working with government and policymakers around how the ongoing governance works, and we need to be working with innovators who are thinking about moving this from the lab into piloting. But what I will say is, and a lot of the work that's being done with the Africa Marine Carbon Dioxide Removal Roadmap is looking at how can these different stakeholders come together to design the system in a way that's inclusive. It is putting people at the front of it as well, and being designed in a way that has lasting positive impacts. Next slide, please. In South Africa, there's a group called SIROCCO, the South African Regional Ocean Carbon Climate Observatory, and they've been doing a lot of monitoring both in the Southern Ocean and now along the coast of South Africa, looking at what's happening from a carbon and thermal basis and what does dispersion, if you were to introduce other materials, look like. So that's from a scientific base. Next slide, please. And yeah, I think just to touch on SAILOR, which I mentioned is the organization that I'm leading here, it's really looking at how do we bring these different stakeholders together. Next slide, please. And in particular, one of the regions that we're looking at, Saldanha Bay, is also looking at which infrastructure supply chains could potentially be looped into these innovations. So wastewater treatment works, desalination facilities, aquaculture companies that have shells from mussels and oysters and could potentially feed into the alkaline materials. But then also mining supply chains. We have a lot of them in South Africa. And so especially when you're looking at electrochemical separation of seawater and the potential for ocean alkalinity enhancement, the acid in certain contexts is being used in mining supply chains as a cleaner source of acid for the separation of the minerals. Next slide, please. Yeah, and I'm sure these have been discussed, but some of the early technological barriers we've been seeing through the Africa MCDR roadmap is showing that it's really, really crucial that the measurement, reporting, and verification systems are ensuring long-term carbon dioxide storage. There's a huge need for local capacity development from a marine carbon dioxide removal perspective, and that's not just technical capacity, that's also on the ground capacity, communication capacity, and policy-making capacity. And then just structurally, continent, Africa is receiving less than 1% of the global climate research and development funding. So we need to think about which funding streams could support this. And maybe to just come to the last slide, please, which is really around, it's falling off a little bit there, but really around what financing mechanisms are fit for purpose for blending catalytic research and development funding, which is much more in the science and research phase and early piloting, with the types of patient capital that's required for these types of infrastructure projects and innovations, whereby typically big project funding would be from banks and the likes, but their appetite for risk is much lower, whereas the type of funding that you'd use to typically invest in innovations is more venture capital, and that requires very quick time horizons and quick returns. And so we're seeing more and more effort going into how do these different types of capital come together. We've got grants or returnable grants or philanthropic funders who are willing to do the early proving of the techno-economics and the science, coming together with more of the patient capital providers who really want to see this coming through to scale. And I think that's the key points I wanted to touch on. There's actually one more slide, sorry, I forgot, which is next slide, please, is just looking at comparative risks. So a lot of the time when we talk about piloting solutions, there's the nervousness around, but this is an open ocean, open system. And so there's a tendency to want to not act, but there's a risk of not acting as well, because as we do nothing, the ocean is becoming more and more acidic. And so it's weighing up how do we start to act, but in a way that's responsible and slow enough that we can respond to what we're finding from a marine impact perspective, from a scientific perspective, and in place. Yeah, and I don't know if the next slide will come up because I've just updated it, but it's just a closing slide to open up for questions.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. And can we have people give a hearty clap to our speaker all the way from South Africa? We appreciate her. So
thank you.
So I'll allow 2 questions. Anyone with a question for Caitlin in regards to her presentation or anything related to the work we presented today? Yes, thank you.
On the deployment, that have been done, you say there are 50 of them. All the process of establishing one, because you see that they still need many more. So if you want to start one around the Mombasa coast or in rivers getting into the Indian Ocean, what is the process so that we are also recognized at the highest levels that we are one of the organizations that is into deploying various solutions?
Awesome. Thank you for the question. So it will be definitely on a regional basis what the process will be. So in South Africa, we're working with the government and with the municipalities who have access to the facilities on the coasts to explore how we could work together with them and the scientists to pilot. I don't know, Mariam, if you would be able to speak to what's already happening in Kenya and the process that has unfolded there for you?
Yeah, I explained some of the initiatives that we have here already in the presentation I did, but I agree with you, it's on need basis and also the type of technology that is to be implemented. But like I said, it's not one person's thing or a scientist only thing. It involves the government or regulators as well. So anyone else with a question? Yeah.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. I see carbon dioxide removal to be a process that should involve really researchers at the university, at the research institutes, and that requires funding and strategy. One challenge we have in Kenya is really on funding. I don't know how easy it is on South Africa, but I think we find ourselves in a space where the universities are underfunded, and that means that very little research goes on in the universities. And getting grants is also another nightmare. Very few grants are funded. To get a winning grant is like gold. So how do we make this process relatively easy so that we can have some beehive of activities at the university? Some of them, as you mentioned, are just exploration research. It means that you are doing research that you are not really sure it's going to bear fruit, but it may, and that could be really good to explore so that we can be able to increase our output as African scientists. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. And this is actually something that we as the hub leaders are working on, is potentially being a platform to coordinate funding, not only from different African hubs, but even hubs that exist in other global south regions, such as Chile, where for accessing funding for these types of projects, to do it on a basis that there are multiple different regions and hubs which could access that funding, is what we are hoping will start to streamline and reduce some of those barriers that you've identified. But what it does require is a lot of coordination between different stakeholders. So that's an ongoing process, and what we're hoping to achieve through the Africa MCDR roadmap and the GEOS hubs that Mariam and myself and others in different regions in Ghana, in Chile, and Colombia, and more are aiming to achieve.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, for your time, and thank you for joining us, everyone, today for this session. And have a great day, Caitlin. Thank you for joining us. And since that marks the end of the session on a special session on marine carbon dioxide removal, and now we will start with the oral presentations. And I think I'm still the session chair. So
thank you, Mariam. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you. So this is our last part of the conference, because after this we will close the session and the conference officially. And we will start immediately with, this session is a mixture of sustainable environment, blue economy, and climate change, as well as humanities, culture, arts, and science, and society. So our first presenter for this session is Mr. Kennedy Agoy. He's our master's student here. Please come forward. You start your presentation.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Agoy Kennedy, master student, biotechnology, pure and applied sciences. As you have heard the presenters giving us their presentation, you see everything starts with the lowest. And we want to look at the morphological characterization of native microalgae and bacteria found in domestic wastewater in the coastal region of Mombasa. And as we come in with engineering work, everything, we must start with this, so that as we have carried out and found out the possible organisms that we can use for decomposition or for environmental degradation, we come up with this particular program. So it's done here in the Technical University of Mombasa, where we have the labs. Introduction is that microalgae and bacteria consortia, a collection that are available, are valuable sources of genetics and biological material for research and biotechnology innovation. You will find that we use bacteria and microorganisms in most cases for biotechnological work. So that's why we want to use this. Their relationship range from inhibition, symbiotic, mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. They all live together, but they act in different ways. There are those that synergize with the other. There are those that repel others, depending on the biochemical products that are given or they are producing. during their biosynthesis. They use biochemical and biophysical processes to biodegrade and detoxify diverse range of contaminants, that is biodegradation, offering a sustainable alternative to conventional treatment methods as well as beneficial biochemical profiles. So you'll find that if we are using them, they'll be sustainable. You know, the normal works that the normal bioremediation is using chemicals and so many other things. So it becomes so much tiresome and that. Our problem statement is that domestic effluents pose a major environmental threat in polluting aquatic ecosystem. So conventional ways of purifying wastewater have limitations. There is limited research, information on native microalgae and bacteria consortia to demonstrate or to the domestic wastewater coastal region of Kenya. The native microalgae and bacteria symbiosis relationship is underutilized and not well documented. So morphological data for the native microalgae and bacteria community is also understated on suitable species that they are performing. So you'll find that it is not known, it is not well understood. And therefore, once we do this morphological characterization, we will find out which one is working, which microorganism, microbacteria and bacteria and microalgae are working in consultation or in consortia, in synergy for them to do the biodegradation of the purification of our water. Justification: native microalgae and bacteria in wastewater plants are adapted to the toxic environment as they could offer a system for bioremediation. Determining their morphological characteristics will provide information on their ability in affordable, sustainable, and natural-based wastewater treatment, thus protecting natural ecosystem and safeguarding public health. You know, when this wastewater is going to the ocean or to the lakes, it's polluting. It has several chemicals and several other components which are toxic to the environment. You'll find sometimes when you go to refresh, you'll find that you are scratching your body and all that. Those are some of the things which are coming from the wastewater that is coming from the domestic environment. So we need to understand that so that we can be able to utilize them for the purpose of remediation. My objective was that to morphologically characterize native microalgae and bacteria found in domestic wastewater treatment plants in Mombasa, specifically to culture and isolate native microalgae and bacteria from selected domestic wastewater treatment plants in the coastal region, to carry out morphological characterization of the native microalgae and bacteria by using microscopy and other tools. So we need to do that so that we can be able to isolate each and every bacteria and microorganism, microbacteria, microalgae, so that we come up with a consortia which is going to help us to do bioremediation. Research question was, do we have native microalgae and bacteria from selected domestic wastewater treatment plants in coastal Kenya? What are the morphological characteristics of native microalgae and bacteria found in selected domestic wastewater treatment plants in coastal Kenya? So we want to find out, that is the question, do we have them or we don't have them? And are they related from the different wastewater plants that we have at the coast, because we are dealing with wastewater plants from Mikindani, Technical University of Mombasa, and Shimoletewa, so that we can see if they are related or not. Materials and methods. Samples were brought from those different sites, that is Mikindani, Mombasa, Technical University of Mombasa, and Kwale and Shimoletewa, and were brought in the laboratory at the Technical University of Mombasa, biochemistry lab or biotechnology, where they were cultured on BG11 media for microalgae and nutrient broth for bacteria. Then they were isolated using BG11 agar media and makonki agar for bacteria. And after that, they were morphologically characterized, because as you look on the medium, you'll find that there are different colonial characteristics. Each bacteria and each microalgae depict a different characteristic. So we are able to isolate one by one and put them in separate condition, in tubes or separate flasks. The same was applied to the bacteria, where we had did the colonial characteristics as well, did biochemical tests, and also did the gram stain. So you'll find all these are helping us to see how they are going to synergize unto one another. Results, you can see the first one is when we got from the field, we put this is the bactericide, we put them in the nutrient broth, and you can see that's the first picture. The last one is negative control. We did not have any bacteria or sample from the site. And then the second one is when we were doing isolation on makonki agar. And the third one is the gram stain. That one is gram negative, and this one here is gram positive. And biochemical tests, we had the methyl red test. There are others, but we selected those for the purpose of presentation. When you look at that, that's a biochemical test table, which is showing us different behavior or different biomolecules that are tested within the bacteria environment. So you'll find that when you look at this, the results are that the gram stain results revealed that across the three sites, it shows gram negative dominated dominance of especially E. coli and Klebsiella. And the second one, gram positive were found, bacillus, and also in biochemical results, we showed that most of them were indole negative. So it means that their products, this shows that or interprets that these isolates possess a variety, a complementary metabolic functions. This is on microalgae, where you see the first picture is showing when they are in BG11 broth. Even if you go to the lab, you'll get them. That is on the media, and that is under the microscope when you're observing the colonies. These are the cells of probably chlorella, and those are the cells of probably diatom. So this is the number when we were counting using the Nuba chamber to find out which one looks more on the other or over the others. So it shows that chlorella was dominant in all the three sites. Others were little, and navicular was also present in the three sites, but we found that Chrysophyta species was in Mikindani, was found from a sample of in Mikindani. So in conclusion, we see that domestic wastewater in Mombasa County is a hotspot for adverse native microalgae and bacteria. These native microalgae and bacteria thrive in treatment areas and in those treatment plants, and the properties could be vital in treatment of domestic wastewater. So when we look at these results, because they are coming from the same samples of water, they can also help us to understand that they are working together so that they do the biodegradation. No organism can work on its own. That is why you'll find that in some areas where we have sewage, there is a pungent smell, meaning there are no other organisms which are helping it to do what? To neutralize that smell. That is why we are doing this work. So the study provides baseline evidence of the ecological versatility and diversity of native microalgae and bacteria, which could be useful in bioremediation of domestic wastewater in our county. So that is how we're working. Thank you. May God bless you. We thank the sponsors, National Research Fund, and DUT, and Kabata. Thank you.
Please clap for Ken. Thank you so much, Kennedy. Anyone with a question to Ken?
Thank you for your presentation. Just a guidance on your work regarding the identification of your microorganisms. You relied only on morphological characteristics, and you know the problem with that technique regarding the classification up to the genus and species level. So maybe that is something that you need to confirm using molecular techniques. And again, in your isolation, you subjected your isolates to maconchi agar. Why? Because you know maconchi is more preferable for bacteria, gram-negative bacteria. So why did you do that? That means you avoided the other species of bacteria, the gram-positives.
Thank you, Prof. It's a continuation project because we're also supposed to go and do a molecular characterization after we have done this. We used maconchi because according to what I've been getting the readings from the papers, in most cases they were using maconchi. So I also thought that I would use in tandem. But we can also apply to other media so that we can be able to get the differences also.
Any other question?
Thank you for the nice presentation. Thank you for the nice presentation. My question was, when you are checking this wastewater in Mombasa, which locations did you look at?
Which?
Where exactly were you taking your samples from for the wastewater?
Thank you. The samples were coming from, we have one site in Mikindani called Mikindani Mikindani Wetland Station, and we also have one in Shimolatewa, rural decentralized wastewater treatment plant. With us, we have just one. We just used the raw. We would try to look at the raw and diluted it to our level. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ken. Asante. So thank you, Ken. We are going to move on to our next presenter, Karina Banas. Karina, I don't. Your second name is long. You'll come and introduce yourself well. So Karina will be talking about, her topic is from visual storytelling in East African communities, heritage films, to online virtual hybrid AI. Eh, You said you'll use your laptop. If there is any other presenter here, please send in your, did you send your PowerPoint? Fred Siambe, is Fred Siambe here? You're Fred. Yako ni gani? Omari, oh, Omar Bakari, you sent already. Ushatuma. Utaiflag. Sawa. Basi.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karina. Hi. Today, I would like to say about the media identity, essentially about traditional media and community faced with digital support of communication across also with artificial intelligence today. My thesis is the dominating toll of communication organize the culture, not only information. Media are integrated or spoiled the indigenous system and method used to transmit data. I want to concentration on the brief story from analog media to digital technology, including hybrid media, and digital media combining with artificial intelligence or global artificial intelligence. Therefore, media, cultures, identity in an era of late globalization and technological change. My question is whether people using digital media have the same identity and see present, experience, learn, and created the reality in the same way. It's really a rhetoric question, but crucial for my considering about the people or our identity and home. I begin in which my individual case, my story. I am Karina. My native city is Warsaw, large Mazovia, capital of Poland, area what local at center of my country. Furthermore, I have permanently worked in Silesia and lived between Silesian people since 20 years. The story of Silesian region was complicating because it had been colonized more time by neighbors group. Silesia has been Polish land from 10th century to 20th century. Next, during a bit 700 years, it was the only other countries such as Czech, Austria, German kingdom. The reason is simple. There were the carbon silver fur. Now Silesia is Polish land since 1922 years. Despite that Silesian people had and have today very strong community identity. Their unity based on common soil, fat, common language, that name is Gotka, lifestyle, cuisine, habits, song, story, narration. The Silesian people, of course, follow the modern role and lifestyle, but protect their legacy and memory about them. Kenyan indigenous people are tribal communities of Kenya, such as Kikuyu, Luya, Lua, Giriam, or Muslim and Indian tribal. Likewise, Upper Silesian community. Although Kenyan indigenous and Upper Silesian community are divided by continents and the condition in which the current state of their culture were formed. They are linked by a common experience, modernity and colonization, decolonization and post-colonization discourse. Simply, the heritage is content of media and messages. My time, in short, that is why I focus on media. Fantastic illustration of a reporting system showing his brief Kenyan film is the short production with participation famous Kenyan director Sao Gamba. Polish Filmic School Łódź. Yes, okay. It's not. in short realization, and with participation. Show the typical situation, the community, tribal community, fair and storytelling about the past. And movie situation. And movie situation. We are becoming a spectator and showing the film Color of Mask, which is the director Saugamba is very celebrate and crucial production by Marshall McLuhan. The media is the message.
Echo. Sasa ndio maana
The optical link teletransmission and transmission, and Remont inaugurated the era of 1.0 media in 1870 years was marked, which the motto of information space where everyone know everything, always and everywhere, owing to teletransmission and cable or optical fiber links. Sign 1991 years and the birth of the internet, a new type of communication has evolved, one which is based on technological produces of access, including access to message, data and media. Despite the short lifespan of the internet, several variants of communication by the net have been developed. The most prevailing on in the web to 2.0 communication. Incapacity include among others free information, exchange between all participants on the communication, a symmetrical and reflexive flow of information, lack of permanent division, and passive receivers creators and consumers. This standard of 2.0 communication are comprised of democratization on public space due to publishing statements on the basis and equal rights, a large-scale inclusion of amateur in cultural processes, creation of communities connected by or nationality, communication 3.0 associated with the so-called cross-median bridge. The level 3.0 communication is characterized by equal access to internet and tools to be same information and special contact with the partner of communication. The structure of relation which cyberspace made possible enable into fulfill some function on the environments. Current dimension of communication is designated by 4.0 media. The model of communication based on transmedia still use interactive bridge and door to the internet. A device which equal access to viral network also continue to guarantee a simultaneous use of numerous database information and media. The 4.0 format does not limit the exchange to the cyberspace content. It still enables communication according to vectors of double addressing. Interactive elements included in the message or application ensure simultaneous functioning of information in both cyberspace and physical world. The medium simultaneously refer its user to ontologically distinct realities. The experience of doublet existence is a situation known to each online bank, account owner, gamer of Pokemon game, video user, Google Map and Go localization. The digital technology and virtual reality both created a deep immersion effect. The advanced model VR glasses is used from 2011 years. Now the generative artificial intelligence for machine and deep learning is more and more popular. Since 1992 years, the internet law burns have impacted on patterns of participation in culture. The audience, viewers, spectators, being able to active participation and creation. The culture of participation, which active user of generative media and artificial intelligence change the situation the traditional community. Their elder mechanism of communication came back in new figure as digital storytelling, virtual avatars, a community of perception, not territory. So media fought and fight industrial revolution, revitalized and archivized cultural heritage of oral communities. The media created until space and intermediate space. In the liminal space between media models and culture heritage, synthesis and negotiation take place. Hybrid form and hybrid identity emerge brought to occur in a relationship between colonial, post-colonial, local, global, and modernist, postmodernist content. Contemporary Africa and Kenya in particular is a laboratory for this change, a cultural change. Kenya's story is marked by the multiplicity and diversity of culture developed by people with different past and legacy. A relation between them were based on similar philosophical and practical attitude towards the world. Its main media, more orature, oral tradition, visual storytelling, and writing, the clash with foreign culture in the 19th and 20th centuries meant global modernization for African cultural community. The introduction of the Latin alphabet and the mechanization of transport, factory production, industrial automation, and finally the internet and artificial intelligence, big data. I hope to research this phenomenon in Kenya, and Kenyan people media aren't crucial. The crucial issues is use awareness of them. The periodical experience indigenous native people provide anthropological interpretation on the worldview of the community members. Heritage movie draw on this very interpretation by means of the domestic story. Film combine individual biographies functioning in family tradition into an whole. The heritage film artistic activity strengthened the truth of the message owing to verbomotor expression, which accompany the repetition of the story known from family and neighborhood experience, and which credible in the eyes of Silesian tribal or Kenyan tribal viewers. Also in the case of this director, on obvious source of film story about homeland is the declaration on common identity. Agostri of identity is the way of expressing and artistic negotiation it which the environment seems to affect the shape of the whole regional cinema. Therefore, faith, life, legacy, and identity of the inhabitant of Silesia and Kenya become its leading theme. Heritage films offer a lot of remembering about the region, about homeland, about owner's village. Oral domestic history is culture practice lead to mnemotics which deprives Mombasa or Kilifi and Katowice of the community of history and linking facts according to the principle of analogy and selecting them depending on their importance to the community. Will people accept the memory of Silesia, of Pwani in Kenya, of Mombasa, created by Heritage Movie? Will the film memories be attractive and will the film become a standard communication channel for verbal and motor messages? This situation, this situation created and lead for that the new media, especially cross media, and artificial intelligence. Media aren't crucial, the crucial issues. My conclusion, particular content framed by the horizon of the universal human need for identity allow the story to migrate between members of the community, between its generation and culture. The humanity, not boundaries. Thank you. It's classic. It's classic heritage film by a Polish director, Kazimierz Kut. The life in Elder Silesia is 19, 20, 22 years. The traditional day, traditional lifestyle, the miner and his family and his neighbors and also his environment and landscape. Because the Kenyan people, likewise the Silesian people, are to come on experience. Firstly, experience is modernity. Secondly, experience is new technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Karina, Professor Karina. This is that's very interesting talk.
Not strong voice.
And also for showing us some of the films. I just have a question. It's a question and answer now. Yeah, so the film you're showing, the one from Africa at the beginning, is that one of your production?
This film has very interesting story because in Ekran we had showed the Saugamba, firstly Kenyan director. The relationship Saugamba and Kenyan filmmaker with Polish school in Łódź is very strong. The Polish school, film school in Łódź, graduate for Kenyan filmmaker. First is Saugamba, second is Jim Karangi, and two brothers, Jacob Barwa and Stan Barwa. This short film with Saugamba is celebration the artistic awareness the Saugamba by Jacob Barwa. Jacob Barwa is very interesting kind of director. He made his film in Hollywood, in Polish, in Brazil. So this short realization, the title Valley of Shadow, is your say goodbye and thank you for Saugamba. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's like it's like a remembrance of that person. The film is about that person. People are, yeah. Thank you so much. That was very interesting explanation. Anybody else with a question? So we are going to the last presenter of the day, Mr. Fred Siambe. I hope you're here and you're ready. Fred, is there Fred here? Not Fred, Omar Bakari. Omar Bakari, sorry about that. Omar Bakari, his presentation is on micropropagation and characterization of wild beta yam, and from Kwale County. So his research is focused on I've never heard of wild beta yams, so today is the first time. Maybe we will start propagating it. Asante sana, karibu. You can start saying a few words about yourself while he's preparing your presentation. So since this is our last presentation, after his presentation, there's the teams. There are several events that have been happening during this multidisciplinary conference. We had a hackathon, which was a collaboration between TUM and one of our partners. So our students were participating in that. That competition has ended and they would like to award the winners. Then the other competition was the robotics competition that was going on in parallel. So they will also want to announce the winner. So they are on their way here, so that after the presentation from Omar Bakari, we'll have a short award ceremony. Then last announcement is that for the people who did their oral presentations, we have some gifts from the university. So you can follow me and I'll give you your gifts. And this is an appreciation gift for contributing to our 2026 7th Multidisciplinary Conference. So I hope, Bakari, you're ready. You can start introducing yourself while he's setting up your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay, my name is Omar Bakari Mwadzanze. I'm a student here in TUM doing Masters of Science in Biotechnology. So we shall have that discussion with you. micropropagation and characterization of wild bitter yam, also known as Dioscorea demetorium, that is found in Kwale, in Kenya, Kwale County. So my supervisors are there, Dr. Anzaro, Dr. Joseph Baya. Now, it is a research project that is ongoing, so it is not yet in conclusion. So for today, we shall talk about the characterization of the bitter yam, also known as trifoliate yam. Now, for introduction of the botanical classification of the bitter yam, of the yams. So from there is a division Magnoliophyta. The class is a monocotyledonous plant. So it belongs to the genus Dioscorea, which is a very wide genus. It is said to have about over 600 species of members. So there are several types of yams that are found all over the world, mainly in some regions known as the yam growing regions, like Southeast Asia, West Africa, and North America. So there's so many of them. Now, so it is the genus Dioscorea, as I've already said, it is a seed-producing plant. Therefore, it is one of the angiosperms that is found in those regions I've mentioned, Southeast Asia, West Africa, and also North America. So in some of those regions, you'll find people grow yams as food. But for our purpose, the species that I'm going to talk about, which is found in Kenya, is not cultivated. It is found in the wilderness. So it is found within the coastal region, but I've narrowed down to the one that is found in Kwale in Mombasa. So basically, the plants from that genus, Dioscorea, are normally, majority of them are annuals. Annuals means they grow in one season and then they die. Although a few may be perennials. And most of the ones that are cultivated are annuals. Generally, most of these yams that fall in this group, they just produce tubers on a few centimeters from the surface. And they usually have fibrous roots. Now, I've said there are about over 600 species of yams found all over the world. Now, these yams have been tried and tested, and they've been found to contain nutritional benefits in terms of starch, proteins, lipids, vitamins, and minerals. These nutrients may be found in different levels depending on the species of the yam in question. Now, some of them have also been found to contain healthy benefits. Like some of them have been reported to have antimicrobial, antifungal, antimutagenic, hypoglycemic, and immunomodulatory effects. Now, there are different species. Not all of these are found in one species. So different species may have those different properties. So in Kenya, we may not have done much research, but in places like India, maybe North America, they have done a lot of research based maybe on the community culture. They have found that some of these things are true and they are working. Now, for my purpose, my research work is based on three main objectives. One, to do morphological characterization of the wild beta yam species that is found in Kwale. Then from there, I will develop the micropropagation protocol, mainly in terms of tissue culture. And then I'll also do molecular characterization of the local species. Why is this case? Because the beta yam that is found in Kwale is not cultivated. It is not grown. Much as it is considered as a famine crop. Famine in the sense that people go outside there and harvest it in the field, the bushes, especially during periods of where there is less food. Like if I can remember, between May and maybe June there, where the maize or the planted crops are not ready, there's normally shortages of food in the rural setup. So people resort to some of these wild plants for food. They go harvest and come and prepare and feed as in their families. So it has been a common practice, particularly when I was young. We used to feed this yam so much, particularly when the long rains begin and food becomes scarce. So people go out and harvest. Incidentally, this yam also, it will only grow once in a year. So by now, if you go to the bushes, you can see the seedling, the young plants growing. So by May, June there, they have reached maturity. Some of them have started producing the tubers, which are normally harvested. Then come up to around July, August, the plants start shriveling and they die. They wither and die. And even if rain comes, the tubers normally don't grow until the next long rains, like now March to June, like that. That's why I thought maybe we can come up with a micropropagation protocol that can encourage the farmer to grow the crop outside its natural regime. So those are some of the objectives that we'll be talking about, but we are going to start with morphological characterization. Now, we'll look at some of the characteristics of the plants in terms of leaves, in terms of flowers, vines, spines, tubers, and shoots. We'll also look at the twining habits and other growth-related factors like dormancy that have been observed in these plants. I've said once the plant grows, by August it dies. It never grows again until, So that means there's a dormance period between maybe August up to March of the next year. So we want to look at those factors and maybe how possible can we go around those problems. So we are going to collect this. I collected the yams in Mivumoni location, which is found in Msambweni sub-county in Kwale County. So there, the crop grows in the wild. So we collected some of those tubers and planted them in my homestead. The aim is to develop a base where maybe anytime I need them, I don't need to go to the bush to go and collect them. So basically the study area is in Kwale County and in Msambweni, which borders the Indian Ocean around there. So Mivumoni is somewhere there within Msambweni sub-county. Now, we are having looked at the characteristics. We started with the leaves. As Ava said, the plant is also called trifoliate, meaning the leaves are found in trees at the same leaf facial. So the trifoliate leaves usually have a smooth margin. Some plants have what we call serrated margin, but this one is one continuous line. And within the leaf, you can get up to 5 veins. Veins are those lines that are found on the leaves. And then the leaves also have pointed tips. So maybe you can have a look at that as an example. So those are the veins that I'm talking about, and then I have a pointed tip of the leaf. Next, we look at the flowers. The plant produces 2 types of flowers. In this case, we have some plants that produce male flowers, and we have plants that produce female flowers. Just like maybe if you have seen the pawpaw. In a pawpaw, you have pawpaw plants that produce male flowers and others produce female flowers. The same case happens here. So they are born on the leaf axis, just around the leaf there, where the leaf joins the main stem. So you'll find the flowers also. And they are spikes, meaning they do not have a stalk that holds. So they are held directly to a long structure. So then some of the flowers, talked of the spikes, you can see they're small, directly joined to a stalk like that. So those are the examples of the flowers. Then the stems are normally cylindrical and they are green. And from the base where the plant is growing, they tend to have spines. So as they grow, more and more spines come up. But towards the tip, the plant does not have spines. So we have more spines on the lower part of the plant than on the upper part. So it can grow up to 20 feet tall, depending on the environmental condition. When conditions favor it, the plant grows higher. And particularly, because it is a climber, where it is facing a lot of challenges in terms of competition, it will climb very fast to really get more light and air. So you can get the spines that are there. These are the spines I was talking about. So these are young shoot that is merging. This is also another young shoot. You can see there are no spines there, but you find the spines in the mature stem. Now the fruits which are, we have said, they are male plants and female plants. So the fruits are mostly, you will find them in the female plants. And the fruits, when they dry, they split and they throw away the seeds. They dehisce. So the fruits are almost, they can measure up to 4 centimeters long. And each fruit inside, when it splits, it can give you up to 3 seeds. The seeds are normally winged. We can have a look at that. So you have said the fruits are triangle. You can see this one, and then another one like that. This is dry. These are still green. So these are the seeds. So main part of the seed is there, and then it has a wing that enables to be dispersed off. So there's a method of dispersal so that once it is released, it's carried by wind, and it can grow to distant places. Now look at the tubers. So Usually you have seen the stem. At the base of that stem, tubers normally grow. They grow there. So several of them can grow from one stem at the base. So the number may vary depending on the conditions. You can have 1, 2, 3, or so. Now, some of these tubers, when conditions allow, we have said they can be 1, 2, 3, or 4. So, for example, one of the tubers can also have several small tubers. They can branch into many of them, like you are seeing in this case. So we have a tuber there that produces others, because all those are branches of the main tubers that join to the main stem. So you have the tuber that join to the main stem, and then the ones that are joined to the main stem also produce other small tubers that join them. Now the roots, I will say there are two types of roots that are found here. We have the roots that come early during germination with the plant. So we call them the fibrous roots. These are the main roots actually. They are a bit strong. They are woody because they hold the plant in position. So they are very strong and they are relatively long, up to about 50 centimeters all around the plant, at the base of the plant. So they are the first roots to emerge. We shall see them there, maybe as we progress. So those are the roots. These ones, they join from the main stem. You have now several roots. This one, several of them, and then they are spread all around the base of the plant. Then we have the secondary roots. Secondary roots come from the tubers themselves. They don't come from the mother stem. They grow from nodes on the tuber itself. So they are usually numerous. There are so many, and they can form a mass around the tuber. So particularly, they are more common on the lower side of the tuber than on the upper side. So they are very efficient in collecting moisture and the nutrients around for the tubers. So you can have a look at those ones. So those are the numerous roots, secondary roots, all around the main tuber. Next, we look at the twining habits. Now, we have said there are different species of yams. Those yams with, like the trifoliates, they have a characteristic way of twining. So, a trifoliate yam, they move clockwise like this around objects. But the other yams that have single leaves, they move in an anti-clockwise direction as they twine around the object. So twining is a characteristic of the beta yam. It can differentiate itself from the other yams. The others may twine in an anti-clockwise direction, but this one will move in a clockwise direction like that. So we have another example there. You can see the twining. It goes like that. Like that. Okay. Now, we have talked about dormancy. Dormancy as one of the characteristics of this. So, we have said in its natural habitat, the yam grows only once in a yam. So it means it becomes a challenge to cultivate that crop, because after the shriveling and the withering, you will not get the yams germinating. So we realize that That is a problem that we can face. So we went around now to deal with that problem. So at first, it gave me a lot of headache because I wanted to plant them and they are not germinating. I planted in July, August, up to September, and no tuber was germinating. Then I realized there is a problem. So how do we go about the problem? So I did an experiment. I realized there is a problem with that. So we got okay, maybe let's go straight to the next. So this is what I did. I got two samples, one I kept in the room and another one I kept in the open place. So I kept on weighing every 2 weeks. And after 10 weeks, I found this one has lost almost this percentage weight. So after realizing this, now at this point, I saw some of the tubers now beginning to grow. So I realized that for the tubers to grow, they must lose a certain amount of water. So we are saying for a tuber to grow, you need about 30% loss in weight. And you see this one is beginning to grow. These two, they are germinating after losing about 30% of the weight. So the same story continues. This was the beginning. This was after 3 weeks. This is about 1.5 months. They are growing now after breaking the dormants. Okay, maybe one last thing. Okay, we can also grow the tubers. The tubers can also grow using seeds. But the same problem occurs of dormancy. So I've not worked on the seed, but I know there is dormancy. But the good thing about the seed is that once it grows, it immediately starts producing its tuber. So you can get a faster crop with the seed than the tuber. With all those many words, I wish to thank the Almighty and everybody here and the tomb at large for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I knew nothing about beta yams. Anyone with a question? One question before we close. Just one question. Yes.
Thank you for the good presentation. One interesting thing that I draw from your work is your interest on the beta yams. Is it because of their medicinal value or food, nutritional value? And curiously, I want to know why the single leaves one go clockwise and the others go anti-clockwise.
Okay. First question, why am I interested in the beta yam? When I started, I said, this is a famine crop. Where I come from, around the rainy season, the long rains, food becomes scarce. So people normally, when they lack food in the house, they go to the bush to harvest this and prepare it for their families. As you see me, I'm a product of this yam. I've eaten much of it in the 70s and maybe late 60s. So that's why I thought, because within this young generation, some of those things are getting lost. They are used to pilau, chapati, but here is a source of meal that can also make people. Okay, now the issue on twining I think is as a physiological process. I've not dealt with to see why it has to go like this and the others have to go like.
So thank you very much for being patient. You're closing our session today. And I have not had any communication from the hackathon team, and let me inquire. But for this session of oral presentation, we have closed the two multidisciplinary conference 2026, and we would like, first of all, to appreciate everyone here today who took their time to spend their day with us and listen to the different presentations. And we also want to thank all the participants, the presenters, our keynote speakers, our partners who have the exhibitions going on, and also everybody, our lecturers, and all faculty and non-faculty members of the university who made this conference successful. So with those few remarks, I would want to close this conference on behalf of the Registrar, Partnership, Research and Innovation, and the University Management. Thank you very much. And also, I forgot to thank the poster presenters. This time we had quite a number of poster presentations. Thank you. And as you leave, you can also look at the posters. So with those few remarks, I would like to close this conference, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you.